You know I'm right. Nick Durst here with Joe Calabrese. And Joe, it's not every day that we can get a Rutgers alum on our podcast. So I'm very excited about this. And she's one of the prominent names right now at NBC Sports.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a local girl. She's from Morristown, New Jersey, not too far from us. Really, really excited to have her on. She's co-host for NBC Sports coverage of the National Hockey League, which includes NHL Live and NHL Overtime. She's done the Notre Dame football too, which is really great. She's also done Football Night in America, the Olympics, multi-talented, incredible talent. Very, very happy to have her on once again. Miss Kathryn Tappen. Miss Kathryn Tappen, welcome to the show. Nice to see you. And thank you for doing this with us. How are you today?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. I'm doing great. Very busy and back at work after months of not being at work. So it's been great. It's nice to be with you guys and to chat with you.
So, Kathryn, you're a Big East academic all-star and the former record holder in the women's 3,000-meter steeplechase at Rutgers, where you were a star on the track and cross-country team. Greg Shiano, are you very happy with him being back? And because I'm super excited about it, and I think Rutgers is definitely headed in the right direction now.
Yeah, well, thank you for that grandiose introduction, by the way. I thought you were going to ask me about the steeplechase water pit, which is usually where people go after they talk about my track career. Coach Shiano, I mean, I just can't say enough about how excited I am that he's back. I think, it was a really interesting way to get him back, and there was a lot of highs and lows as an alumni, and also as a huge fan of the Scarlet Knights. There was a time where it looked like we weren't going to get him, and I just felt that he was the right fit to come back because of what he brings to this program. Not only was he successful when he was there in the past, but also he's a tremendous leader. He knows how that program works. He knows how New Jersey people operate and what they want. He's a Jersey guy. He can sell the program to these incredible New Jersey athletes that we keep losing to greater universities, and we have over the years, the Boston Colleges, the Notre Dames, I can't tell you how many times I cover a Notre Dame game with a star athlete from New Jersey that did not decide to stay in state. We've got great facilities at Rutgers, and now you've got a great leader to get these players to stay in state, and to sell the program. And Coach Shiano is just an unbelievable coach. Listen, the record, forget it this season, but look at what they were able to do and how they won the games they won, they never were out of a game this season. They always fought to the end. And that is a mentality that has been implemented by Coach Shiano. That wasn't there in years past. So there's a sense of excitement and enthusiasm, and I'm just pumped that he's back, and I'm really excited to see what he's able to do with this program in the next couple of years.
Yeah, Joe and I have said on our show, we think within like 3 years, consistent top 25 team, which is exciting. And you mentioned like really keeping the New Jersey talent in state. Your coworker, one of my former coworkers, Chris Sims, he told me a story how Rutgers, they want him to go to Rutgers so badly when he was a top recruit. They even came and did their whole practice at his high school, but he just was like, I'm not staying in state. But that's something that might change now. He obviously went to Texas.
Well, that's why we don't like Sims. So forget about him. Whatever. He can go to Texas.
What do you think about Sims?
His loss. He can't bleed scarlet. That's his loss.
What do you think about, and we asked Liam this as well. What do you think about Sims, the fact that he always has his collar always buttoned up, but his podcast is called Unbuttoned?
I think it's great. It's a trademark of his. You know what I love about Chris Sims? He is so true to himself, and he does not try to be anybody else ever. And I love that. There's a sense of authenticity to him, and he wants his collar buttoned all the way up. He's always worn it that way. It's his thing, and like, good for him. He's owned it. And I love the creativity of spinning the podcast, calling it Unbuttoned. I mean, it's just great. Yeah.
So back to you here, because the focus is obviously on you and your career. You're at Rutgers, doing very well in track. When was it that you decided, maybe it was before college, that you wanted to pursue a career in broadcasting?
Yeah, actually, when I was a young girl, I was my 8th grade yearbook aspiration says to be a broadcaster. And, I looked up to people like Katie Couric, Leslie Visser, Melissa Stark. I mean, they were role models of mine, and I wanted to do what they did. I grew up playing a lot of sports, obviously, and also public speaking. When I was very young, I participated in an extracurricular activity called forensics. That started when I was in elementary school, and it went through high school, where you stand up and you do public speaking, and you compete against other schools in the area. So I learned very early on that it was something I was interested in. I chose Rutgers for many reasons, and one of which was that the journalism school was very well known. You had the opportunity to do internships in the New York City area, which is where I built a lot of my contacts and network early on in my career through that internship, and people that I'm still friends with today, 18, 19 years later. I just, going to Rutgers offered so many possibilities for me. And also the opportunity, if I did decide midway through that I didn't want to do broadcasting, there were other majors and different schools I could go into and transfer into, whether it be business or engineering or whatever it would be. But, I didn't have a lot of time to devote to on-air work when I was at Rutgers, because I was competing in the fall with cross country, in the winter and indoor track, and then the spring season was always outdoor track. So, I did what I could, but it wasn't anything substantial. So when I graduated Rutgers, I had a very, very, I don't even know where it is or who has it, but it is a bootleg tape of me doing stand-ups around campus. And I basically went to my friends, my friends on the baseball team, one of my friends on the football team, and just said, like, can I do a story on you? And I tried to edit it with one of my friends in the journalism school, but it was so bad. It was so bad. But it's all I had when I graduated to send out to different TV networks and try and find a way to get my foot in the door somewhere. And, so I think it was hard to devote so much time to television when I was in school, even though I knew it was what I wanted to do. But I was always confident in knowing, okay, I only have 4 years to compete. I really want to make sure I dedicate those 4 years to doing the absolute best I can for my teammates and to wear that R proudly. And then I've got the rest of my life to try and figure out this TV thing. So it worked out in the end. I look at the programs now that colleges offer and universities offer, and the great ways that students can get involved in television and broadcasting and journalism. I mean, even podcasting, like this was not around when I was in school 100 years ago. So it's definitely, there's more opportunities for people to grow in those 4 years to get into the business, which is really neat.
Tape couldn't have been that bad, because obviously you get your start with CBS's college sports television. What was that experience like, and how did you get approached to maybe come out for a tryout there and then ultimately get that position?
Yeah, well, actually, it was my junior year. I took a journalism class where Tim Pernetti, who was a former tight end of the Rutgers football team, was speaking to our class. It was a very small class of athletes in this journalism class. And Tim came and he spoke to us. He was an executive at ABC Sports at the time. And I stayed in touch with him. I gave him, I took his business card after he spoke to our class, and it ended up that there was an internship opportunity that summer. So my junior year going into senior year at ABC Sports. So I entered in the PR department, I made some contacts, and then I went back to school for my senior year, my senior season. When I graduated, Tim had left ABC Sports, and he was an executive at CSTV, College Sports Television, which is now CBS College Sports. And he called me in and said, there's going to be an audition. We're launching the new network. We're creating like a Dream Job, what ESPN had before Dream Job came out, but we're going to launch an audition for anybody around the country, no matter what your job is, no matter what you do with your life. You could be, a mom of 3, you could be a weather anchor in Minnesota, you could be a barista at Starbucks. Come and try out and try and be a sportscaster. So that's what I did. I auditioned. I was living at home. I was sending my tape out everywhere and anywhere. And I went in, and it was a 2-day competition. And after the first day, they eliminated, 150 of us down to 10 people, 10 finalists. And the second day was a sportscaster boot camp. You had to do a writing segment. You had to do an on-air presentation. You had to develop a story. You had to produce it. I mean, all different ways to learn how to do TV. And at the end of that second day, they announced that I was the winner. It was a long, grueling day. I remember there were celebrity judges that were judging us. Bonnie Bernstein, a sideline reporter who I really admired, Gus Johnson, Brian Baldinger, and Sid Rosenberg, who was on, of course, on radio and television here in New York at the time. So it was intimidating getting up and trying to perform in front of them with zero experience. But I won the competition, and it just kind of gave me an opportunity to work at a TV station early in my career that was a really nice TV station. I had studio amenities. I had beautiful, production quality. I had a hair and makeup artist. I had somebody writing the scripts at the time for me. I had a prompter I could read off of. So I was able to build, in the few times that I did go to CSTV, I was able to build a nicer resume reel than I had from Rutgers. I knew I still had to leave New York, and not nobody, but very rarely can you just graduate and go right into the number one market in the country for television. So, but building that resume and getting those reps in allowed me to have a more, a prettier resume reel, I guess I would say, to send out again to different networks around the country. And I landed in Providence, Rhode Island about a year and a half later. So yeah, but it all started at Rutgers. What's that?
Graduating, that class, that graduating class, if you will, when you worked there, a lot of tremendous talent. You got to Michelle Beadle, Adam Zucker. We had Greg Amsinger on yesterday. We'll get to him in a moment. What was it like working with other people as tremendously talented as those few people are? And did you realize how talented you guys were in the room at the time? Did you understand where your careers were going to take off from that point on?
No. And that's like so cool that we've all kind of come from that class. I mean, I remember Michelle was really well established at the time when she was at that network. And I mean, she was the main female talent and she was hosting the primary show with Greg. And Adam had a prominent role in the show as well. I did not. I was kind of like the Friday updates, every couple of weeks I'd do like a 90-second pop into the show to give you the updates on the sports that day. But I mean, that's when you look back, it's like, that's crazy that we've all gotten to where we are from that experience at CSTV. I mean, like literally, Michelle is so proud. I know she's no longer doing what she was doing in the NBA, but I mean, she's one of the greatest sports personalities. And I wouldn't even say sports. I think she's one of the greatest personalities, in the industry. And then you've got Greg running his thing over at MLB. I see Adam every weekend on college football. And it's just awesome. Yeah. We should do a reunion, or we should do like a reunion show. You should get all of us on the podcast next time. That's what I'll vote for that.
I think that's a great idea.
But I didn't think, listen, I mean, I had high hopes for my career. I didn't know where it was going to head. I hoped to certainly achieve success in the industry, but at the time I was just eyes wide open and trying to learn everything I could. And I looked up to Michelle. She had what I wanted, and I was trying to learn everything I could about how she prepared and what she was doing to try and better myself.
So before we get to the next phase of your career, it's the holiday season. So you mentioned everybody, right? I wanted to get into a specific story. We had Greg on yesterday, and he was telling us something about a holiday party and a wine glass and your foot. Now, we have you on. You can better explain this for us, please.
Greg's a liar. What's funny? Yeah, I was very young. I was like early 20s. Yeah, old enough, of course, old enough drinking age, but I don't remember the story specifically. I actually have to get Greg's take because I know he's told that story before and I think it's hilarious, but I think did I spill a glass of wine on him maybe? Is that how it went?
Something like that. He said
Can you just replay what he said?
He spilt it and then he dropped the glass on your foot and there was a lot of blood.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, don't drop a wine glass on your foot when you have open-toed dress shoes on for a holiday party. I don't advise it.
Nothing to worry about this year because all holiday parties are virtual.
Thanks a lot, Greg. Yeah, let me go get some dirt on Greg and we'll see what I can dig up.
So you mentioned that you took the chance on yourself. You left the national station, you go local, and you're working with NBC, an affiliate there in Providence, Rhode Island. You're doing weekend anchoring, weekday sports reporting. What was that experience like, getting into that smaller market and really sinking your teeth into the day-to-day grind of a broadcast?
Yeah, well, that's just it, Nick. And I'm a huge proponent of like doing the process, right? I think you really learn who you are and when you do the job the right way and you learn it from the grassroots up. And that was really, NBC 10 in Providence was the meat and potatoes. I didn't have to one-man band. So that's like the only step I avoided in my career, which I'm very happy about. But I did have a sports photographer with me on all my shoots, but I had to go out, I had to prepare the interviews, I had to edit it, I had to produce it and sync it up and get it ready for a 90-second clip for the sports reel at 6 and 11 o'clock. So, you learn the hard way how to do things right. You make mistakes along the way. And that's, one of the benefits of starting off in a smaller market. And Providence, by the way, isn't even a small market. It's it's the feeder market to Boston. You have a lot of eyeballs on you. You've got people from the New York, high executives that are summering on Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, and they're seeing you. They're watching you on the local news. But, that was really where I learned how to work in the business. I remember my first live shot, the producer, it was the 12 o'clock noon show, and the producer asked me for my roll cue. And I didn't even know what my roll cue was, or I had never used a roll cue before. I had always just prepared on tape, and it was my first live shot. And I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to say. And she's like, well, we need to know what you're going to say, because then we roll the tape. I'm like, what? Oh gosh, and I had to learn little things like that along the way. And I also learned, from one of the best in Frank Carpano, who's the sports director. He had been there for a long time. He knew the Rhode Island market. He knew everybody in Rhode Island, and for that matter, for the Boston sports teams as well. So I just kind of hung in his shadow and watched how he did things. And I got to meet people, and he introduced me to people that were instrumental in helping me get the jobs in Boston when I eventually moved up to NESN. So again, I'm forever grateful for Frank, and he welcomed me with open arms, not just as a professional, but also to the area. It was my first time moving out of the state of New Jersey. I was ready for it, but it's a new experience. You're on your own for a new job in a city you've never been in before. And his family welcomed me to holidays and dinners, and it was a wonderful experience, and I could have stayed there forever. I mean, it's that kind of a market where you've got great sports teams and a lot of viewers on that NBC 10 station. So I also love that I came full circle and came back to NBC, and yeah, I hope I stay at NBC for a long time.
So you mentioned you move over to NESN, you're doing Bruins, Celtics, Red Sox, Patriots. How much easier was it for you to do your job where all these teams are winning championships every year?
I know. My dad always likes to tell people, like, well, she covered all the champions. They won every championship when she was up there, so she had to go somewhere else. But it was, talk about a great city to be in, not just from the excitement and the enthusiasm and the fact that all these teams are winning and you get to cover these incredible championship runs, but in cities like that, like Boston and Philly and New York, Chicago, fans are smarter than you are. So the sooner that you realize that, and the sooner that you accept and understand that you are held accountable for what you say, because the fans are incredibly knowledgeable in those cities. I would go to the post office and get asked about the Bruins and the Red Sox, and they want to know, they crave more information, they love their sports personality, so you feel like you're a part of it with them, and they feel like they're a part of it with you. But you've got to know your stuff. Because if you don't, they're not going to like you, and you're not going to do the right job. And they do hold you accountable in those cities. But it was awesome. The experience of just covering all of those championships, being a part of winning teams also brings national media to the conversation, right? So I'm in the locker room on a normal Wednesday with Patriots getting ready for a playoff game, and you've got Sal Palantonio walking in, you've got Wendy Nix coming in. All these big personalities in the industry that, again, I could put my eyes on and I could watch and see how they do things. So Boston was just, I lived there for 11 years. Even after I left NESN, I stayed and kept Boston my home for a long, long time. It's a tremendous city. They've got great sports teams. They're run the right way by the right people. And it was a pure joy to cover it for so many years.
When Sal Palantonio shows up, business is about to pick up. He's
right.
He's the go-to guy.
It's a big game. Yeah, when Sal Pal's there.
So then you're going back national here. You join the NHL Network, doing NHL Tonight. How did that opportunity come about? And did you always know at NESN you wanted to kind of move towards hockey, or you were just like, I'm going to take whatever opportunity comes to me?
Yeah, at the time it was 2015. Was it sorry, no, it was 2011. What am I talking about? I jumped ahead to my NBC. 2011, the Bruins had won the championship. My contract was up at NESN, and I'd been there for 5 years. And it was a chance for me to explore what options would be available if I wanted to go national. I realized at the time I was right around, I think I was right around 30 or so. And I realized it was a time in my life where I'm either going to take a national opportunity, or I'm going to stay at NESN for the next 10 years, 20 years, whatever it may be, because it was that kind of a station where I could have stayed. I loved it. I loved the people I worked with. I loved living in Boston. I was doing really well for myself. And it could have been a place for life. What happened was I did start to explore other opportunities as national networks had their eyes on, possibly hiring me. And it came down to ESPN and the NHL Network. And the reason I chose the NHL Network was because I was doing a lot more hockey at the time, and I really did enjoy it. I was concerned, though, about going and only doing hockey. I thought, is this going to pigeonhole me just in hockey for the rest of my career? Because I do like and I enjoy the versatility of broadcasting many sports. But what I learned about the position at the time was that it was going to offer me an opportunity to be the face of a new show they were launching, and to really develop it was a long show. It was going to require a lot of preparation as far as learning all 30 teams at the time in the league. And it was going to be a big challenge, but it was a bigger platform. What was presented to me was an opportunity to be the face of this network and go for it. And at ESPN, there was, the role that was presented to me would have taken me back a bit of a step from where I was hosting live games. It wasn't quite the role I wanted. And it was a really hard decision, you guys, because listen, ESPN is, the worldwide leader. It's everybody that's young and starting off in the industry wants to go to ESPN. It's just the way it is, and host Sports Center and do all these great opportunities. So it was hard to not take that. It was really, I thought, is this going to be detrimental for my career? But it ended up working out well. I have tremendous mentors in the business that I lean on heavily with decisions like that. And thankfully, they gave me the right advice at the time, and it all worked out okay.
Certainly worked out, because then in 2015, you end up joining NBC Sports and their awesome coverage. Specifically, you did a lot of hockey starting off, and then you've done a lot of Notre Dame football, and of course the summer and winter Olympics, and now you've been doing coverage at Sunday Night Football games starting this November. So a bunch of questions here for you in the NBC Sphere. Number one, how has it been doing some sideline reporting and being one of the very few people in the stadium? And then just kind of walk us through, your progression at NBC from where you started to where you are today, and talk about, how exciting it is to work on all different games, different sports, and the Olympics in particular.
Yeah. Well, I joined NBC in the summer of 2014. I had done the Olympics in Sochi when I was working for the NHL Network. NBC needed another host because Liam McHugh couldn't do, all the games all day long, every day for the Olympics. So they hired me on as a, kind of a freelance opportunity to join NBC for the Olympics in Sochi. And it was a great opportunity for both of us to get to know each other, for NBC to learn about me and my work ethic and decide if I'm somebody they want to bring on, and for me to decide, are these the people I want to work with? Is this the production quality of where I want my career to go? And long story short, yes, both of us, had a mutual admiration for one another, and it worked out great that I signed a deal that summer following the Olympics to be the Notre Dame sideline reporter, to host the NHL, to be a part of Olympic coverage and Super Bowl coverage in, various different roles. And it has evolved into where I'm at now. What I love about NBC is there's an opportunity to do so many different events, and there's an opportunity to jump on the Today Show from time to time and talk about these events. There's everything from the Olympics to the Derby to the NHL to Sunday Night Football. I mean, we have it all, and that's great because you're always growing and you have an opportunity to do new things. The Sunday Night Football gig this past November, and then just this past Sunday, is a huge role, and it's a great opportunity for me to test it out and to get an opportunity to do it. I mean, how cool is that, with the games that Michelle is going to take off, that I get to step in there and see what it's all about, because it is the greatest show in sports. There's no question, across the platform and television, it is the greatest show. So yeah, I like getting new challenges, and that's certainly one that is just awesome to be a part of. But it is weird being in stadiums that are empty. I will not lie. Both Notre Dame, we had about, I think the biggest game we had this year was the Clemson game. There were about 10,000 fans in Notre Dame. Sunday Night Football in Buffalo was quiet. It was, but it brings a new perspective. And the guys talk about it on the broadcast all the time, how you can hear certain calls that you normally wouldn't hear, and even that changes the quarterback's perspective. He's hearing the defense. I mean, he's hearing things he doesn't usually hear when there's crowds there. So it's brought a different element. I mean, listen, we all look forward to when fans are back in the stands. There's no question, but it certainly is allowing us to see these sports in a different way. The fans at home have a chance to learn things maybe they didn't know about. For us, it makes it a little bit more challenging, especially as a sideline reporter, to get information, to get places I need to get. You can't talk to players before the game anymore. It's harder to see injuries. You can't get right up in there and see things. In the NFL, you're in a moat, and in college football, I'm on the end, in the ends. So it's brought some different challenges, but it is where we're at. So NBC offers a lot of different possibilities for me, and I hope I can continue to grow in many different roles there.
So we talk about Trailblazers when it comes to women in sports, women in broadcasting. Let's take you back a couple of years. In 2014, you were honored with the Women of Inspiration Award. We'll get to that very shortly. All of that has culminated with where you are today. Earlier this year, you anchored the first ever all-female broadcast crew during the Blues Blackhawks game, which was remarkably special on International Women's Day. You know, a lot of women in this business, you know, a lot of connections. I remember one of the very last days that I was working was that all-female broadcast that you all did, and I think you guys did an absolute bang-up job. How important is it for you to be in the position that you're in, to share what lessons that you've learned along the way, to give advice to other women? How does it feel that you are in a position to empower other women to advance in this career, which is something that we couldn't have said even as recently as 20 years ago?
Yeah. Well, I've always been a fan of paying it forward. I think it's it's who I am. I never decline a call from a student, whether it's high school or college, or somebody that reaches out to me on social media that has a question, or maybe wants to do what I do, or maybe just wants to get into the sports television business behind the scenes, whatever it may be. I had people that took the time out when I was trying to get into this industry and took the time out of their day to talk to me and offer me advice. And I feel very strongly about doing the same for those that are going to come after me. And yeah, I take it very seriously that I'm a role model to a lot of people. I'm sure even, maybe somebody doesn't want to be on camera, but is just looking up to a woman who is in a position in a male dominated industry. And that can happen in finance, that can happen in law, that can happen anywhere. And just to be able to be confident and to speak your mind and to be sure of yourself and to put the preparation and the hard work in. I mean, that goes whether you're male, female, whatever you are, it's important to do things the right way. And, I'm very proud of that broadcast we had on International Women's Day. Every woman on that broadcast was qualified in every position that she had, whether it was our camera operators in Chicago, whether it was, in studio, our behind the scenes crew, our producers in the truck. Everybody does this for a living. It just so happened we all did the same broadcast at the same time on a very big day for women across the United States. And I'm proud we did it. I don't think it needs to be, it shouldn't be a day. It should be part of the conversation always. If someone is qualified for a job, no matter who they are, they deserve the opportunity to have that job. And we put us all together on the broadcast. It looks great. And it certainly, I think woke up a lot of people to believe that women are as capable as men to do the jobs if they are qualified. And I would say the same thing for men. If you are qualified, you do the job and you do it right. So I take a lot of pride in being a role model. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of where I've gotten to my career. I've got a long way to go and I've got big goals still for myself. But if I can help anybody along the way achieve their dream, then I'm more than happy to help out, because for me, I am living my dream job. I don't feel like I work a day in my life. It's hard work, but I mean, I love it. So it doesn't feel like, I'm happy. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the people I do it with. And if I can inspire someone else to live their life that way and do something they love, then I hope I can.
Well, Nick and I think you do an absolutely outstanding job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Very welcome. One of the last things I want to leave our listeners with is you are a board member for the Marsoc Foundation. You do remarkable things, even behind the scenes, even for our great military. So kudos to you. We know that you're going to be on your merry way very soon. We're going to wrap you up here. We always like to give our guests the last words on this show. So for giving us this amount of time, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. We know we're going to have you on again. We're going to try to get the group chat going on. I think that would be a tremendous idea. Hopefully we can pull that off. But if there's anything else you want to share, if there's anything else you want to promote, go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you guys.
With us. This is amazing.
Thank you so much. So Joe and Nick, it's been a pleasure being with you. I do hope you get that reunion scheduled. I think we can find our time, you know, get clear. You got to clear Greg's schedule though. You know, he's the hard one to nail down these days.
Beatle's going to be tough. She's a monster.
I'll just get her. We'll get her. But I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving me the platform. I think it's great what you guys are doing. And I guess, you know, my final word would just be to really encourage people to, one, follow their dreams, but also work hard every day and keep good people around you. And, you know, if you do those things and you just keep pushing forward and don't let anybody stop you along the way, then you're going to be just fine. And you'll find a way that you find your happiness. You find the things that really give you joy and pleasure in life with your job and your personal lives. And I really am a big proponent because I've lived my life the way I've wanted to, and I'm in this dream job position and I'm proud of it, but you got to work your way to get there. So and do the right thing. So I guess that's my last word. And I'll get the final word on Greg. I don't think that story was true at all. So I mean, we're just gonna have to clarify that one day.
Sounds good. We'll get it on the college reunion show here in the future. But we really thank you so much, Kathryn. We appreciate everything you said, all your advice as well. So for our very special guest, Kathryn Tappen, and for my co-host Joe Calabrese, I'm Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm Right.